This is how you can approach prayer. If someone's close to you, you can ask them. I asked my wife, well, she is a friend, but she's my wife. She's more than a friend. I asked her to get me a glass of water. If she was upstairs talking to Julia, she wouldn't have heard me say that. I'd have to go upstairs, seek her out. Once I find her, say to her, would you please get me a glass of water? And if she's inside the bedroom with Julia, I might have to be knocking on that door so that she can open the door after I sought her out so I can ask her to get me a glass of water. There's nothing complicated about this. If you read the parable, you look at or if you heard Jesus teach the parable and then talk about whatever, a certain methodology, if you would, about asking, seeking, knocking. Again, this has often been taught in a way, well, there you go. You just have to keep asking and asking and asking. And if you just have to seek harder and harder and harder. And who knows, you might have to pound on that door all night long. And that's not at all what he's saying. Steve, you're wrong. You have to keep asking. You better, I said something. I don't want to tell you what part of the anatomy I was going to refer to. You bet I do. Every day I have to keep asking. It's not a one-off. And it's not persistent prayer. It's reality in Steve's life. Every day I have to ask. Every day I have to seek. Every day. I want to say a little something about knocking. Because like in Revelation 3:20, when Jesus says, I stand at the door and knock, if anyone hears my voice, it's not really about the knocking. I surely can hear the knocking at the door. He says, if anyone hears my voice and answers me, responds to my asking, responds to my voice. And Matthew 18:19 is that verse about the prayer of agreement.
Again, I say to you that if two of you agree on earth concerning anything that they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven.
He gives us a prayer of agreement. I mean, here we are on earth, so it's a good one to learn, that we're to agree. The word actually means to harmonize, which can mean a lot of different things when we agree. It's not just agreeing necessarily for healing. It has to do with faith. It has to do with love. It has to do with a lot of different things actually coming into harmony. When you've been learning keyboard, you've been learning a lot of different harmonies, how they all blend together and make these beautiful sounds. So harmony can be a variety of things. It can be just two sounds that are so alike, they're an octave apart, so they're exactly the same. It's hard to tell the difference because they're so in unison in terms of a harmony. Or it could be a variety of harmonies. It's very colorful, like a coat of many colors. One coat, many colors. It could be a lot of different things. Jesus says this, though, that coming into that agreement, and then I'm really sad that a lot of the translations have taken out the real picture word that Jesus used as touching anything. And that's really a powerful picture. If you agree together as touching anything, that's really what it says. And that touching has to do with going through something. It literally means going through. If you can agree and go through it together, I'm telling you, your Father in heaven will move mountains for you. In that place of agreement and going through so that you can touch it. Now, we said last week we were talking about all things. I got pretty excited about all things, that all things are yours, all things. And what Jesus is really saying is if you can harmonize and you can pray through and touch and get a hold of those all things, our Father is more than willing to release them. He wants to work with you. Jesus said that, my Father works with me. That's what we do. We work together. But I have to get through. And that's not a matter of knocking on a door forever. It's just a matter of getting through it, whatever it might be. What I'm trying to say is the door can be a lot of different things. When Jesus is talking about knocking and it will be opened, we immediately think you're knocking on a door and the door is opened. And that's okay. It's a nice one. It's a good one. We can get a hold of that. But we're really thinking about whatever that kind of barrier is. That's getting through it. That's knocking the door down of anything that would get in the way of getting to the all things that are available to us, that Jesus said all things are yours. Getting to those things is by getting through the door. And it's beautiful here that the picture in Matthew is one of a corporate one, where two of you can come into that harmony and agreement. See, we think in terms of certain things about maybe the kids that we pray or something, whereas God's thinking in terms of the all things I'm thinking about are that they may know my love. Can we agree for that? Can we come into harmony agree that they would know my love. Yeah, but there's some, that they may know my love, that they may be one, that they may know my love. Can you get through that? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we get put off a bit about whether it's possible. With God, all things are possible. In other words, this thing, it just has to keep ticking over in us. We got to keep hearing the voice. If you can hear my voice, that thing will be opened. You got to hear my voice, and I can come in with you. We could do this thing. We can do it. We put all the pressure on ourselves in prayer. Jesus is working out of that thing from John. Teach us how to pray. We'll take the burden on ourselves. Give us a prayer we can pray that works. And Jesus is saying, well, it really doesn't work that way. It's not methodology. The burden is not on you. The only thing I'm asking you to do is harmonize and get through this thing together so we can do it together. We bear the burden together. Ask. There are inconsistencies from week to week, the way preachers, pastors will present stuff. And it's a lot of it has to do with what I'm saying today. When we take a parable and we're going to teach a parable, we pull it out of context, we sort of miss something that's right before our very eyes. But we never had a chance to look at it because we pulled it out. And now what do we got? We got something that we're probably taking out of context. And as soon as we do that, there's nothing, bad. It's just you might miss it. Let me throw something at you. Who does he go to at midnight? He goes to what? Who in Scripture is called the friend of the bridegroom? John the Baptist calls himself the friend of the bridegroom. If you go to a friend at midnight, this just hit me this last week. It's almost like saying, so, if you pay your $75 and go to a prophetic conference to get a word, you might get one. It can almost carry that context. Where and who are you going to get what you need? There's a reason why. Teach us to pray like John, your friend. Okay, well, if you go to a friend at midnight, is that what it's about? I hunger and thirst for a prophetic word. I'm not trying to put it down. You guys should know more than anybody how I hunger and thirst for the prophetic word. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to prayer, all these prophets in America and all over the world, they're people like you and me. I'm not going to them because I've got to get them to pray for me. If I could just get them to pray for me. Jesus is saying you can do that. And if you're a real pain in the back end, you might get an answer to prayer someplace in there. I don't know. Or you don't have to go anyplace. Right where you are, you can say, Dad. And by the way, if you want to read the Lord's Prayer, you can do that because God's not bothered. But it's not the prayer that needs to be recited. I'm not giving you a methodology. I'm trying to identify the nature of prayer, who we should go to in prayer. It's our Father. And he's using the bread as we can see, because the bread for people in that day was everything. Whatever we consider we need nowadays would all be lumped under the category of bread in their lives. They lived on bread. When Jesus says, I'm the bread of life, he wasn't just saying, a loaf of bread. He's talking about everything and anything, all the time, any place. I am what you need to live. I am the bread of life. See, the challenge for Jesus in the most beautiful way, as he's working from teach us to pray like John, he gives them the Lord's Prayer, and then he goes into what the guy in the parable did, which is really good. He asked and he sought and he knocked and he did this whole great big thing. But his bottom line is, so, do you want to go to the friend of the bridegroom or the father of the bride and groom? I mean, which one do you want to go to? It's your call. You can make yourself a pain in the butt for a friend and maybe get something. Or you can go to your Father who loves you, who's generous, who's kind, who's longing to share your sustenance with you, to have that fellowship and that communion, to agree in harmony with you, to harmonize so that this bread, whatever it might be, it doesn't have to be what you're going to eat tonight. It can be whatever I need. Whatever I need, I can go to the Father for. I'm not looking for John the Baptist. I'm looking for my dad. So he moves from there. This is where we finally get to our ifs. So let's read verses 11 and 12.
What father among you, if his son asks for a fish, well, instead of a fish, give him a serpent. Or if he asks for an egg, we'll give him a scorpion.
There's actually, there isn't. Actually, there's only two. Just what you read, those two ifs. But in a lot of translations, they take the if from Matthew, they boost it, and bring it into Luke 11. So you got, if a son asks for bread.
Yeah.
Right?
Ask for bread from any father among them, but give him a stone.
Yeah.
Or if he asks for a fish.
The thing about this is that there's a lot of teaching you can do in there about the similarity, but it's not the real thing. It's not what you asked for. It's similar, but it's not the real. You know, the idea of a small roll, which is what their loaves of bread would have looked like. A small roll and a stone, very similar. A fish in water, a snake on land, they move in a very similar way.
Yeah.
They're very similar, but they're far from the same thing. Or the egg, the scorpions in the Middle East are white. A lot of them are white, not all of them. A lot of them are white, and when they're just sitting stationary, they pull their legs in, and they look like a little white thing about this big. They look like an egg. So he's using three different things that these guys culturally would have recognized. I'm asking for something that's nourishing. What dad would give their kid a joke? Nice try. We wouldn't even begin to think like that as parents. Who would do that to their kids and torture them? Because that's what it is. It's a form of torture. It could even be a form of being harmful if you get bit by a scorpion or a snake or something. Who would put their kid in harm's way for a laugh when the kid is sincerely asking for something from their dad? But he puts it in the context, which one of you would do that? He's just shifted from the friend to a certain kind of how the guy was doing things in the parable, not putting it down. There is a way there, so to speak, but now he's hit what he really wants to talk about is you're a son. You're going to your father. Do you think that he's going to act at a lesser level than you? I mean, you wouldn't do that.